What you doing picking in them people's window?
We're back. It's another edition of For the Record Philadelphia with Brian Westbrook, Roxy Romeo, Crystal Rich, Jeff Mosher. I'm Eitan Shander. The five of us, we've got a big one to sink our teeth into. But before we can even do that, we are shooting and recording on a very special day for this country as we remember and honor the legacy of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King. So, Crystal, you're rocking the tea.
You know.
Why don't you take over?
I have to go first.
That's right.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys one of my favorite quotes that happened from King in 1964 upon him receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, and he said, the beauty of genuine brotherhood and peace is more precious than diamonds, gold, or silver. So I think that is very appropriate for today's political climate, and I think it's a message that we can all remember today as politics bang heads, the left and the right bang heads, that the beauty of genuine brothership and peace is more precious and worth so much more than a lot of things that we would typically value.
Well said.
Yeah, that's
very
pretty
well
cool.
said,
I mean,
yeah.
when you think about what's going on in this world, we're focused on so many different things, but the most important things, family and children, kids, peace, we kind of push it aside, which is messed up.
Yeah.
That's where the world is at right now.
And brotherhood too.
Yeah.
Brotherhood, especially with people who don't look like you, who don't think like you. Those things are very important to today's society.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like on my day-to-day, and I don't know how it is with y'all, but to your point about people who may not look, think, or act the same, I feel like conversations I have in real life are far different than conversations I see and have on social media.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that what happens is we get so caught up in that minuscule part of it that we lose someone's message, like Dr. King's, who's been preaching that for as long as he was on the planet before his life was taken, and now even as we continue to remember.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And when you think about some of the things that have happened to people that are in the minority in today's world, 2019, it's been sad. And you talk about Martin Luther King, 60, I mean, I don't know how many years ago, 50 years ago? That's a long time ago. And it seems like we have forgotten some of those things that so many people fought for, so many people have lost their life for, and we have the opportunity every single day to change that. And we have to make better decisions and move in a better way than what we've been doing in the past. And so I think hopefully on days like this, at least people will take a minute to stop and say, you know what, there was a powerful moment of those messages. Let's try to observe that for some time and hopefully integrate that into our everyday life. And so
I think that the younger generation, though, they need to be re-educated about it. I
No
think
doubt
that's
about
one
it.
of the biggest problems, because a lot of people feel like things that happened in 1950-something, 1960-something are happening again in 2019 and 2018. And I think it's just because there's so many young people that weren't educated properly or forgot about Dr. Martin Luther King and all the people that came before. They just need to be re-educated to remember, wait, we need to fight for freedom and we need to fight for justice, and that is definitely not what's happening right now.
times.
You know the expression, those who ignore history or don't know it are doomed to repeat it.
Right.
Kind of feels like
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
Not
and
just
when,
politically.
and when was that written?
When was that written?
A long time ago.
I don't know, Homer. Why don't you tell me?
That's my point of it is that things become cyclical, right?
They
And
do.
in order to break that, to Roxy's point, you just have to keep educating and keep educating. And now we do
Well,
have.
I mean, listen, we could sit here and have 3 hours worth of discussion. I would even argue that our education is too flawed for us to even understand each other's cultures, because we're not even educated properly on our own culture.
On ourselves, right, that's right.
At least in America. I don't know how it is anywhere else, but that's a big problem.
Yep.
I've often thought about joining like the Board of Education at my local school, and I probably should be more active, but I also know that how I get when I'm around a lot of people who just only want to see something one way. And I don't, I've thought about, am I going to be that guy who tries to make a point and then be labeled, you are so crazy radical, just because I say, the way we're teaching things here is
Right.
really not right. But,
different.
maybe I should probably not worry about what they think and do it. But
Yeah.
again, it's all about your time, your effort, your understanding of other people. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I think you guys know I love to travel, China, North Africa, and you see these other places, and we come in with all these preconceived stereotypes almost, and you go there and it blows every single stereotype, and that goes back to our education.
Yep.
And you can't put it all in the school system. You know, we as individuals this is the information age where we can look things up for ourselves, but it does kind of start there. So for us to be almost misinformed about certain things can really affect our future and how we look at things in totality. So being able to think about MLK and him wanting to having a dream of everyone holding hands and being together no matter what your color, religion, anything is a beautiful thing.
Well
So
said.
I wonder before we leave this, how much closer are we now to that dream being a reality than we were at when the speech even was conceived?
You know, I picked that quote because I think in this political climate, it almost feels like we have taken a step back.
Yeah.
It feels like we have taken a step back, and that's why I picked that quote in particular to remind people that brotherhood and peace are important things, and like Dr. King argued, more valuable than diamonds, silver, or gold. Since it feels like we've taken a step back, I hope that we can get back on track relatively soon. But you know, it goes back to like some basic things: voting, registering to vote, paying attention to things that happen politically.
Yep.
So, you know,
I don't think
We've also, sorry.
I don't think it's a surprise or a shock to say that racial tension is, I think, number one right now, the biggest problem that we have in this country. So we have definitely taken a step back, and I think there's a lot of things that happen racially that do make the headlines, but there's a whole lot more that don't.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, though, the thing about that is, to your question, where do you start?
Yeah.
Do you start when the speech is made? Do you start in the 70s? Do you start in the 80s? I guarantee you people in the 80s were saying, you know what, man, we're taking a major step back.
Yeah.
What happened? We had a movement going, been co-opted, bombing people's houses in Philadelphia. You know, there's things that change where that discussion, and then 90s, start moving ahead.
Right.
So to your point, I feel like when you start looking back decades, 20, 30 years, there's a step forward, there's a step back. There's a step forward, there's a step back. And we are constantly caught in the middle of it.
Something that we can all do very easily, and you know, we certainly want to move on, but we can all just start.
Or just do another
no,
45 on it.
We can always, I mean, this is simple. We can just treat people better. No matter your race, your gender, whatever, just treat that person better. Treat them the way that
agree,
you want to be
Brian.
treated. If
You
you can
should
do
treat
that.
people better.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to start with Jeff.
Cold-blooded, man.
1, 2.